I had the chance to meet both with your President, Minister Haddad, Isabella, and many others, discussing the ecological transformation plan for your country, showing actually that Brazil, like so many other countries, but Brazil being well placed, can actually accelerate its growth by accelerating the sustainable transition. Brazil has already many things to be proud of. 92% of its energy already coming from green energy. That's probably the highest share in the G20 countries. In fact, in 2022, the renewable energy sector employed already 1.4 million people in Brazil. That's the largest in the whole of Latin America. Brazil continues to play a pivotal role in the biofuel technology as well, leading the way for over 5 decades, displaying true leadership in my opinion, becoming the second largest producer of biofuel in the world. Now, for those of us who claim that the green transition cannot be achieved, I would urge them to consider the transformational progress that actually has been achieved in Brazil. In only 2 short years, Brazil will host the COP28. That will be another final milestone on the path to a net zero transition. The COP30 will also be an opportunity for Brazil to actually showcase its drive, its ambition, its leadership on nature-based solutions to the climate crisis. Without that, we simply won't get there. An example to the global community that nature-positive, regenerative approaches are not only possible, but also essential to the success that we're all striving for. COP28 that we're here for is pivotal if we have any hope of bending the curve on remaining around the 1.5 degrees Celsius. Not just around the table at the COP, but in many sectors we're already seeing acceleration. Electric vehicles, in solar, in many of the other parts. It's clear that the green transition is there and is accelerating. We celebrate our success, but we must also face the fact that progress is coming too slow on the trajectory that we really need. The pace must actually increase by a factor of 5. The hard work we fail to do today only makes the job more difficult for us tomorrow. And frankly, time is not on our side. Let's pay plainly here and address the subject on which our future truly hinges. To remain within the 1.5 degree limit, we must reduce and end the use of fossil fuel as a matter of urgency. We have about 20 years to do that, but can't wait for 2050 alone. In fact, at this COP, more than 100 nations have signed already an agreement to phase out fossil fuels, because the science is clear and the evidence is undeniable. In fact, Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, who I have the pleasure to serve as chair for him for the UN Global Compact, said it very well when he said, "Your core product actually is our core problem. We need a renewables revolution, not a self-destructive fossil fuel resurgence." Now, thankfully, Brazil has made it clear for all the world to see that a pathway to a green economy is not only possible, not only achievable, but also very profitable. The We Mean Business Coalition that we have created, with an annual revenue of over $1.5 trillion, have called on leaders to act with a sense of urgency to phase out these fossil fuels over the next 2 decades. This coalition is quickly growing in numbers. The voices are getting louder. They recognize the urgency of the problem, the threat to our ways of life. It is vital that the world leaders heed this call in the last week that we're negotiating. I believe that fossil fuels are in their sunset years. Sustainable alternatives, however, are the future. The magnitude of the crisis we face requires companies in every sector to reconsider their business models from the ground up. Business as usual simply isn't sufficient anymore to meet the moment that we face. We have all witnessed the blusters of a company under pressure to appear sustainable, adjusting their logos, adding a splash of green their websites, opaque targets they never intend to meet. These cosmetic fixtures, if you want to, are fooling fewer and fewer people with each passing year. A truly net positive company recognizes that through these many obstacles in the short term, the green transition is simply the biggest economic opportunity in the decades to come. The bottom line is this: saying that we are responsible and acting actually like it are rather different things. And what we see here is true action. From my time in Unilever and in writing the book Net Positive, I've met countless businesses. I've been encouraged, I've been inspired, and yes, on the rare occasions, discouraged. But I've always felt like the message is increasingly getting through. Companies, much like countries, can struggle with the fact that these deep decarbonizations, whilst difficult to do, are perhaps difficult to build in their business models. But increasingly, as I mentioned, they're coming to us faster, they're cheaper, and ultimately better for business. And the financial market, if you like it or not, is valuing it in an increasing manner. If we begin to take care of nature once again, nature will take care of us. This year at the COP, nature-based solutions have been placed firmly on the agenda, with in fact 134 countries agreeing to present deep decarbonization plans just on nature alone. This is imperative as part of the solution to decarbonize the global economy, part of a system-wide shift in our attitude to energy. It is easy to think merely in terms of replacing coal mines and windmills. But deep decarbonization requires us to consider nature at every step of our transition strategy. Having met the innovation team at Acelen, I can honestly say that my hope is reconfirmed. From such a small seed can come such a great potential. The macauba palm is a wonderful invention, again given to us, frankly, by Mother Nature. You have in your possession a plant with vast potential for good, for the planet and for the people of Brazil. Not to mention a $2.5 billion investment over the next 10 years, which makes this project a reality, but also an enormous opportunity in the economic development of Brazil itself. Acelen did not seek to tinker around the edges, but instead offers a system-level solution at scale. That's what I call actions, not words. What seems to be clear is that this, the macauba project, sets out not simply to do less bad, but to actually do more good, which makes it, in my opinion, an example of true net positive thinking. Macauba wood plant can be used as fuel, feed, food and fiber, as we have seen, making it one of the rarest of things, actually a zero-waste product and aiding regenerative agriculture. It's a tropical tree adapted to the regions with low rainfall, making it water efficient and regenerative. It has the potential to be used on degraded land, restoring soil health and generating carbon sequestration. I like the fact that it promises 90,000 jobs. That's what we call just transition, and the potential to add over $17 billion to the local economies. Those that are frankly the regions in Brazil, and I've visited many times, was the greatest need. Revitalizing not only the land, but the communities charged with bringing the project to fruition is probably the best thing you can do. How many examples can we cite through the history of mankind, where concepts, projects, businesses that seemed like a long shot at the time actually came alive? A gamble, not because they were ill-conceived, but because they threatened to reimagine the future. Not in 2 years or 5 years, but frankly in decades to come. Think about canals, think about steam power, think about air travel, think about the internet, think now about AI. I believe that Brazil have actually the potential to be that same disruptor once more again, to lead the way in our energy transition, setting the standards for a new, integrated and holistic solution to our energy requirements, restoring the balance of nature instead of stripping it away. For too long, energy production has been considered a zero-sum game. For energy to be created, something else had to be given up, and in many cases that was nature itself. The macauba project itself offers us the ability to harness the power of nature, to regenerate nature, all the while decarbonizing the energy sector at global scale. Acelen has rightly identified a weakness in the global energy transition to focus on, which frankly is air travel. With this project, we have the capability to electrify many parts of our global economy. We've seen huge strides already happening in heat pumps and solar or in electric vehicles, as I mentioned. These technologies are in the striking distance of outpacing their fossil-based competitors. Air travel has always been a hard nut to crack. In fact, together with shipping, they were excluded from many of the climate agreements. But I believe that you might have well found the nutcracker that we were looking for. A commercial airline running on biofuel from London to New York only a week ago shows that it is possible if we now get the volumes. SAF, or sustainable airline fuel, frankly has been too long under the radar screen. I believe that Brazil and Acelen are well positioned to become this vital catalyst, pushing SAF to prominence and reaching, hopefully sooner than later, its full potential. Now let me be clear. If Acelen can turn its macauba project entirely towards the production of SAF, well then, we may be witnessing perhaps a true tipping point in real time. Brazil would be at the helm of revolutionizing the airline industry, the energy industry, with real consequences for our planetary survival. My own experience partnering with KLM Air France and with Systemic has taught me that the path to SAF is not an easy one. This market adoption frankly fairly too slow. The current mandate in Europe, for example, the region that I come from, only calls for 6% by 2030. Our targets must be more ambitious. I believe with a little bit of effort and an example being set here, we can at least achieve 15% in that time on the way to net zero. It is through these future partnerships that the macauba project will truly fly, creating the synergies which multiply effects. What I call 1 + 1 is 11. You're out in front, leading the pack, gaining momentum, driving investments. But it can truly change the path of the energy transition if we can turn the sustainable airline thinking on our hands. You've given, I believe, that vital piece of the puzzle. It's also great to see your willingness to engage with your competitors, to offer it to other people, to create scale faster. I've always said that when it gets to the future of humanity, we should cooperate, not compete. And this is an example of that, where you cooperate with civil society, with the industry at large, with governments, to get to that scale faster. For systems-wide change, we must consider not only how best to play the game, but we must question the game itself, the rules, the regulations. I have great faith myself in the ingenuity of the private sector, in companies capable of seeing the longer-term view. Full in knowledge that the true success in the decades to come means investing in the green transition, heart, body, and soul, because it promises to be profitable, and simply because it is the right thing to do. It's in all of our interest to protect and nurture biodiversity, to work within the planetary boundaries, not against it, to put back more than we take out, to replenish the planet for our children, for our grandchildren. If we are to achieve our net zero goals, the nature positive solution that Acelen is advocating for must quickly become the norm, not the outlier. Brazil shows all the signs of being a global leader on this front, setting out best practices for a system-level shake-up of our energy needs. The Acelen Macauba project could well be one of the first net positive global commodities, with the power to change the world for better and a huge, huge economic opportunity. I'm told there is an old saying you may be familiar with. It goes that Brazil is the country of the future and always will be. I think we can finally dispense of this saying by showing you that you can be. Brazil is truly the country of the future today. The Pope sent a message this week, which I saw. He said, in the end, the purpose of power is to serve. It is useless to cling to an authority that will one day be remembered for its inability to take action when it was urgent and necessary to do so. History, I believe, will be grateful to you, will be grateful to Acelen, will be grateful to Brazil for setting the standards. Congratulations to all of you. Obrigado.